Hello, this is technically supposed to be a work Nix, and I'm here with a bit of an update on some of the DDD combos. After discovering the Kali Yuga turn skip thing with the armored Xyz cards. Um, about an hour after I posted the video, I figured out a better way to do the 3-card Baron combo, and I posted it on my community tab, but nobody's actually going to check that. And I've been getting some questions about it. I've been seeing people discuss it on the DDD Discord and in my comment section, which, you'll be able to find the comments because there are like 3 of them. But I was going to wait until I had a lot more to show, like more variations of 2-card combos, that sort of thing. But people are asking, and I figured I might as well get the video out as soon as possible, so let's just start with it. This is going to be the first version. And all you need to do is make a couple of changes. So it's going to start off the same standard Baron combo. Once again, we just get this out of the way. We like to make Copernicus Chainlink 2, because if they Ash it, then we can still play, but we don't want them to bell the Genghis here. Just getting that out of the way. So Griffin, search Orthros, normal Orthros, make Baron, and here we're going to make Caesar into Xyz Armor Fortress, detach 2, search, standard play. Armored Xyz is going to attach, and actually, I just already forgot to mention the first change we made. Before, we were sending Lamia here off of Copernicus instead of Vice Typhon, and then we were adding Vice Typhon off of Gate later in the combo and pitching that to summon the Lamia, and I think that's how we were going into Siegfried, or maybe it wasn't, I don't really remember, because that combo is basically just defunct at this point. You're always going to want to do one of these instead. They're just straight up better. So, Vice Typhon and Grave off of Copernicus, that's change number 1 from the base combo. After popping our Xyz Armor Fortress, we're going to trigger this, search Gate. Gate, search another copy of Griffin, which we can special to trigger the Genghis, which is better because it gives us another level 4 in extra deck that we can later Pendulum Summon for Siegfried, as opposed to like having to do something with the Lamia. This is just better. And this lets us trigger Tell as well. So because we are specialing the Griffin from hand and triggering the Genghis, we can summon the Caesar, put Tell on top of it, link the Griffin and the Tell into Gilgamesh, and trigger both of these. Another DDD tip, just general DDD tip. If you're linking off a Caesar or a Tell in order to make Gilgamesh, make the Gilgamesh Chainlink 2, because if your opponent has something like an Ash Blossom or like the other one, Skullmeister, that could stop the Caesar or the Tell, and they haven't used it already for whatever reason, they could drop it here, and that would be pretty devastating. But anything that's going to stop the Gilgamesh is going to target it and not care about the order of the Chainlinks anyway. We're not worried about we're not worried about Ghost Duggar, we're not worried about Gamma. Both of those are going to trigger the Gilgamesh's floating effect anyway, which they won't want to do. But things like Valor and Imperm don't care if this is Chainlink 1 or Chainlink 2. Now, in this circumstance, you're protected from Imperm by the Genghis anyway, but, this is just a small optimization that can come up, and it has come up for me in games before. But off of the Tell, we're going to send Necro Slime. We're going to fuse that away with the Caesar that we don't need anymore because we have a better version of it about to come out. So we're going to make a Genghis, Ragnarok back our first Genghis, make Caesar, then Pendulum Summon the Orthros and the Griffin from the extra deck into Siegfried, and there you go. That's the setup. You have your 2 level 8s, you have your Siegfried to stop Book of Eclipse, Spellbound, anything like that, and you were protected somewhat during the combo. We got to bring out a High King Genghis before our Gilgamesh, which means that we're insulated from Imperm on that, even if we had to block an Ash Blossom with Baron de Fleur earlier in the turn. Additionally, from that point forward, if you have both of these, you are immune to an Imperm Nibiru combination to wipe your board. So it's just much more insulated for the same payoff with the same starting cards. So it's just a straight up better play to make, so you'll never be doing the other one. It doesn't sacrifice anything in the sequencing. It's better sequencing for the same play. Now, there are some variations to this, and those will start coming into play in situations where you don't actually hard draw, all three of those pieces, the Swirl Slime, the Copernicus, and the Griffin, and instead have to use a Dark Construct at the gate to search the missing one. This is something that I definitely knew was an oversight in the previous video, but I was really rushing to get that out because I just discovered the combo and really wanted to get the video out. But I have been in the lab a little bit, just figuring out the different things you can do if you draw two of those pieces into gate instead of all three of those pieces, because in the standard combo that I've shown already, you are searching your gate off of Caesar, and then searching off of that gate for your extender, which you can't do if you have to use gate to get to your starters. So this will be the first version of that, and this is the standard play that through some iteration I figured out is probably the best way to do this. It's going to start off the same, search your missing piece, do your standard Baron combo. Now, this replay that I'm showing right here is actually not the one I recorded first. I recorded this last after I did the other variations that you're about to see. Once I realized there was a way to optimize this, and the original like 2.5, 2 cards plus gate combo just became obsolete because of this. So I'm going to show this here. Going to make Baron. We're going to make Caesar. Very similar so far. Xyz Armor Fortress, detach, add the 2 cards. Vice Typhon here. Summon Genghis, or High Genghis rather, to further insulate our plays. This card now, we can block an Ash, we can block an Imperm, we can block an Ash and an Imperm on this card, so this is almost certainly going to resolve. Then we can Armored Xyz to equip, Baron Poppet, trigger Caesar, and you're going to see some versions of this where I add Swamp King here, and you can add Swamp King here if you don't want to play Patent License. I actually wasn't playing Patent License in the build originally until I figured out I could do this. But this is the highest ceiling version of this combo. Now, the variations that you're going to see after this will be versions that sacrifice one of your end bosses, a la the old version of DDD where making Baron pretty much made you sacrifice one of your end bosses. But it will trade a Caesar or a Siegfried for less vulnerability on the setup. And I'll just shut up and I'll play this. So what you're going to do here, you're going to activate Patent License, and you're going to use your own High Genghis negate on it. And since you're negating the activation of the field spell, it will actually go to the graveyard, triggering its effect to allow you to add the Griffin back to your hand. So you've functionally done the same thing that we did in the previous combo, despite having used your Hard Warrants per turn gate already, because in that previous combo, we were searching gate to search Griffin, to summon Griffin and trigger Genghis and yada yada yada. Here, since we've already used gate, we search Patent License to trigger, or to activate the Genghis, trigger its own floating effect into the Griffin from grave. So it's basically the same thing. Now, obviously the downside to this is that this is a once per turn. It's soft once per turn, but a once per turn nonetheless, since it's not leaving the field. And that means you are no longer protecting your Gilgamesh from Imperm at this juncture, which may come up. But, the plays from here are pretty standard. That Tell's going to send Necroslime, we're going to make High Caesar, we're going to Pendulum Summon, make Siegfried, set this, pass, same deal. So we've gotten everything off of 2 cards plus gate instead of all 3 of those cards. Now, the first variation I want to show you here is going to be one where you lose your Siegfried in favor of the early Genghis, or early High Genghis rather. So, like I was saying earlier, when you do that play that makes sure you end on every boss, you are sacrificing your ability to protect some things from Imperm with your High Genghis earlier in the combo. Now, like for example, if I had to, actually I'll show you, I'll let the board show up here. Yeah, so in this situation, if I were to get Impermed on this Caesar, or sorry, not on the Caesar, there we go, on this Xyz Armor Fortress that I've misclicked and summoned in the EMZ, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to pop it anyway. I would not be able to negate the patent license if I were to search that later, because this is once per turn, and I need to negate that patent license in order to extend with it. Luckily, you have alternative extenders in the form of Swamp King. I don't remember if this replay shows Swamp King. It does. So this replay, we're going to show Swamp King, and pretty much solely because we have exactly 3 names engraved, you are always going to be giving something up, and that is the really depressing thing about this. There are some situations I've encountered in testing where it's like, oh, if this card had a different scale, then this would be possible, but unfortunately, our scale numbers in this deck, a lot of the time, the cards that you want to play just have scales that make them not good in the situations they would otherwise be good. Things like Arc, Requiem a lot of the time is like that, Apocalypse, but, you know, it is what it is. Another thing you'll notice in this variation is that I am banishing my Genghis with Vice Typhon. Now, you can play 3. I think this is the one that gives up Siegfried. I think that's the replay I clicked on, which means in this replay I am actually playing 3 Genghis to make sure I'm able to end on Hiking Caesar on top of everything. This is probably the worst variation of this combo, but it is one that you can do. In this situation, I'm going to set Requiem. Pendulum Summoning this Orthros doesn't do anything. Trust me, I tried. I played around with the different versions, the different sequences. It's just not going to accomplish anything. So we might as well get the 2 level 8s on field so we're not having to use Baron de Fleur in the standby phase to do that. That way, you know, we don't lose to like a 6th card Imperm that negates Baron Summoning. But yeah, that's this version of the combo. It's fine, you know. You retain the early High Genghis in order to protect your. It is in the graveyard. The Ixie's Armor Fortress, whose name I still have not memorized, on top of the Baron de Fleur. But in the process, you are giving up your Siegfried, and you have to play 3 Genghis, which you probably, in most situations, are not going to want to make room for. Now, this is the version, or one version, that gives up High Caesar instead of the Siegfried, which I think is better. And this maybe should be the standard version, depending on how many hand traps you're expecting to run into in whatever format you're trying to play this in. So, standard play, you know, we're going to get rid of this Genghis, and in this version, we can get away with only playing 2 Genghis because, you know, we're going to Kali Yuga the opponent anyway. We're basically FTKing them. Does it really matter if we end on High Caesar on top of all of it? Not really, especially since in that previous combo, if they had the means to resolve a Nibiru through our board, they were going to do it before we were able to summon the High King Caesar anyway. This version of the play, though, we're going to banish this. I believe we're going to banish this Caesar instead of one of the level 4s in our graveyard. That way, oh, nope, sorry. This is the patent license version. I think the other version is the one I'm talking about. So this is basically the standard play. The first variation I showed you, involving Drawing Gate, and the only difference is that I'm giving up High Caesar in favor of getting this High Genghis on the board sooner to make the play safer. So yeah, it's the same play, except no High Caesar. You don't have to play a 3rd Genghis for it. And yeah, it's just a safer version of the standard play. So this will probably should be the go-to version of this combo. This is enough damage on board to kill the opponent anyway. You're Kali Yugaing them. Siegfried is probably going to provide more safety for your full armored Xyz on the opponent's turn than High Caesar would. So realistically, that's probably the most optimal way to play it. Now, of course, all of this is contingent upon your Baron combo not getting stopped. At any point, your opponent could Ash the Gate, your opponent could Ash the Copernicus, which cuts you off of, dumping Vice Typhon to get the early High Genghis, which cuts you off of some extension. You may just have to pivot into regular DDD plays, but the purpose of these videos is to show the Kali Yuga lock and the different ways you can Kali Yuga lock. So you know, do with this what you will. You know, these combos with DDD especially, you know, people meme about the spreadsheet, but combo videos and memorizing spreadsheet combos, absolutely no substitute for intuition and actually piloting the deck properly. Okay, so this is going to be the version of the same thing I showed you in the last replay, but where you add Swamp King instead, so a situation where you had to use your Genghis Negate on an Imperm, something like that. Search Swamp King instead of Patent License, and you're going to banish your Caesar and one of your level 4s, leaving a level 4 in Grave, which actually, sorry, I brought back and went to the extra deck already. This way you can end on Siegfried. And, you know, you can bring back a Genghis. There's a world where, like, in one of these combos you could bring back a Tell. You send 2 things with grave to the grave. You link the Tell off, you know, into a second Gilgamesh. But this is a bit of a tangent. That's something I played around with, but really it doesn't do anything because you're going to be spending the revive that you need on something from the grave in order to, you know, get the second Tell dump. It's not worth it. But yeah, I think I showed them all. So those were the replays. Those were all the different variations of the 3-card or 2.5 card combo that I've come up with since the last video. Actually, that's not all of them. There is a version where you like can send Kepler and revive it to get Eternal Darkness, but I mean, if you're Kali Yuga locking, you don't need Eternal Darkness anyway. It's funny. I almost made a replay of it, and then I thought, it's not worth it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I will see you later.